Okay, hello and welcome everybody. This is Ben Chiriboga, the Chief Growth Officer here at Nexl, and you are in the right place. You are in our little virtual studio, and we are bringing you another One Firm webinar. Today, I am sitting down with the ladies of stage, Megan, Jennifer, two of the three power women of a fantastic legal marketing and business development consultancy. How are you guys while we wait for everybody to go in? What's up?
Hi,
Hello.
thanks, Ben. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to have you.
Yeah.
Megan, we've of course done a podcast together. It's fantastic. Yeah. Megan, for those of you who listen to the podcast, you guys know that I always try to make Megan laugh while she's trying to record. So I'm not going to not do that this time. So we'll see what I'm able to pull out, even if it's live. But Jennifer, it's really nice to meet you. We haven't had the chance yet to have you on the podcast, but yeah, we're going to get into intros for a second. But yeah, what's going on, guys? Give us, while we wait for everybody to come in, 1 or 2 minutes. Any updates, any stories? People going back to school, end of summer. What's the deal?
Oh my gosh, all the things, right? All of the things. School, going back to school, yes, trying to hold down the daycare, the childcare, all of that until my kids start here on the island. Of Long Island, September 7th.
Yes, right.
The longest of islands. So, yeah, so there's that. But yeah, we were just kind of talking before about how we're marking on, stage has been open and running for 7 months, and
lucky number 7.
Just very excited and
very excited
that we have all of these kind of months behind us, although it sounds short but also feels long at the same time. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting down for the for a One Firm webinar. It's all rolling in the right direction. The karmic circle is coming, right, Jen?
Karmic circle. I love the karmic circle.
The karmic circle. Jennifer, where are you calling from? Because Megan, you are in the island of Long, also known as Long Island in New York. Jennifer, where are you calling in from?
I am in the sunny San Diego area today. So
amazing.
No complaints.
No complaints. San Diego. I always think of fantastic weather. Really great people who always just seem incredibly happy, and I always think of like the harbor, like the marina that you guys have down there. I went there when I was like 6, and I was like, that's a lot of big boats. That's a lot of big boats down there in the marina. Yeah. While we wait, how long have you been in San Diego for?
Oh my gosh, I've lived here over 20 years, originally hailed from the Midwest, and then moved here because I literally wanted to live by the ocean amongst palm trees with sand, surf, and sun. And so I never left. And I met my husband, and just a fun little tidbit, we're celebrating our 19th wedding anniversary this weekend, Labor Day weekend. So anyway, he's a California native, so that's I'm here.
Congrats to you. Congrats to you. California has done you well. That's fantastic. So why don't you, everybody in the chat, if you want to, go ahead and put where you're from. Actually, we love to check in. I've been doing these webinars for a long time, and I think the farthest place that I've ever had somebody join a webinar was Azerbaijan, which was pretty cool, right? So I don't know even how that happened, but Azerbaijan, I've never been. It sounds like a super interesting place. If you ever looked it up, it's beautiful. The crossroads between the East and the West, the old Silk Road, all of that kind of stuff. Very cool, very, very old world. But yeah, let us know where you're from. I think we're going to get started in 1 minute. Megan, Jennifer, what are you guys excited to talk about collaboration-wise? Whenever I say that, before we jump in and give you what's the one word that comes to your mind whenever I say collaboration in law firms?
Ooh, I could go either way. I could go I feel like I'm a negative New Yorker, so I feel like I could go negative, where I'm where I want to make a face and be like, "Mwah." Or collaboration is holding hands and singing Kumbaya.
Teamwork.
So that's where the beautiful California lovely yoga
Exactly.
comes in.
Two peas in the pod. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this is kind of a fun little anecdote. So Megan and I have worked together for a very long time, 7 years.
Yeah.
I'm way down here in San Diego. She's way up there on the island of Long. And we honestly, in the 6 to 7 years that we have worked together, I can tell you that we have seen each other in person 3-dimensionally, probably less than a handful of times.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And that is the truth. And so
The truth. Yeah.
if there's anything about the power of collaboration, you're kind of looking at it right here with me and her. And then our amazing business partner, Kathleen, is the same. She's in Maryland, Washington, D.C. area. And so we don't really get to see each other, again, 3-dimensionally very often, maybe once a year, maybe. But we have look, we started a business together.
Yeah.
And that's based on a lot of things, including collaboration. So kind of cool.
I would 100% agree. I think you guys should have an offsite in Azerbaijan and meet all
Oh,
together.
boy.
And,
Love
go
that
out
idea.
there. Yeah.
Sure.
Right? Yes, exactly. That'll really get the collaboration juices flowing, right? It's just a completely new environment. I think it'll be good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I put up 2 slides here, just to 1, let everybody know that we are in the right place, and 2, just
Well, they can't leave now if they're here, right? They have to stay.
Exactly. That's absolutely true. So can everybody see my screen here? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, here we are. You are in the right
now
place.
I can't. Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so here's the 3 of us, the power of 3, and today we're going to be talking about the power of collaboration, a topic that's really near and dear to both of our hearts, both Stage and Nexl. And I'm sitting here with Megan and Jennifer. Megan, Jennifer, do you both want to formally introduce yourselves as we sort of kick off? And why don't, Megan, you want to sort of kick us off? Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to starting Stage, and we'll go to Jennifer after that.
Oh, sure. Yes. Thank you. I love to talk about myself. So hi, everyone. I'm Megan Senese. I'm co-founder and principal at Stage. We are a woman-owned legal marketing and business development firm. We've been open for 7 months, coming from lots of years and years of experience in big law. So I have about 16 years of experience in-house. Now I'm out-house, doing legal marketing and business development. And I think what is unique about my experience, and Jen's echoes this as well, is that I've always sat in an industry or client team perspective, meaning when I was in-house doing legal marketing, I wasn't assigned to a practice group, and that really provided this kind of holistic view across the entire firm at every firm that I had been in. And then going all the way back, I started at an accounting firm, and I think that's really where the fundamentals for me for how you bring multiple people together for collaboration kind of started. So, I mean, that's the crash course. I want to be mindful that I don't take up the entire microphone. So.
Oh, nice. All right, so passing the mic over to Jennifer. Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself. And similar to Megan, what was the first seed of collaboration? How did you first see it pop up, and maybe the power of it? That would be cool too.
Oh. Well, I started my career in the world of high finance and investment banking, which frankly, I didn't even know what that meant when I got into it. And I rapidly recognized that I loved working on pitch decks and roadshow decks, and we were doing equity offerings for high tech and biotech companies. And so going on roadshows and trying to attract the investment community. And so that was kind of my first foray into this marketing and business development world. And from there, I went into running a nonprofit organization, and then landing at my former big law firm, where I met Megan. And as she mentioned, the seed of collaboration really was when we were tasked with, and that's not even the right word. We were given this incredible opportunity to conceive of and roll out a firm-wide industry group program. And that is, we'll get into that, but I actually think that industry teams and industry group programs are a really elegant way for law firm leaders and business development and marketing professionals to encourage collaboration, because they're more horizontal than the vertical practice sections that we see traditionally. So, and here I am today with Stage, with Megan, and then our beautiful other partner, Kathleen Hilton, who couldn't be with us here today. And, just carpe diem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a shame that Kathleen couldn't be in there. I think this slide, there was definitely room for one more. That would have been perfect. It would have really all of us
Totally.
together. It would
Next
have been
time.
great. Next time,
Yeah.
totally. Okay, well, let's go to some of the topics. You've already sort of talked about them, but we're really going to talk three major topics here, three major pillars. The first is collaborative advantage, or the advantage that collaboration brings. I think we really want to hear from you guys about how this really drives client retention, satisfaction, and then just even overall success. I think a lot of people are bought into the hypothetical idea of collaboration, but where the rubber hits the road and some success stories, I think that's really what changed people's hearts and minds at the end of the day. From there, assuming that you've changed hearts and minds and you've really planted the seed that you want to do this, that's where the hard work begins, right? Of course, which is building a collaborative culture. What does that mean? Building cultures is incredibly difficult, and then changing cultures is probably even more difficult, right? So that can be a problem. And last, of course, is breaking down silos. So even assuming that you got everybody's buy-in, even assuming that everybody's talking the same and drinking the Kool-Aid, there's still things that are going to add a little bit of friction in the process. And maybe we can talk a little bit about what those are and how you guys have overcome those in the future. So where would be a good place to start? I see a natural sort of flow to this, but anyone that you guys want to pick? It's sort of like Jeopardy. Pick a topic and then we'll ask some questions under there. Where do you guys think would be a good place to start here?
Oh,
Well,
go ahead, Jen.
Megan and I did a little pregame yesterday.
Oh,
and
nice. Love it.
one thing that we talked about was, why not define what collaboration means?
Nice.
Right? I mean, we say the word all the time. I mean, in our legal marketing and business development parlance, collaboration, collaborative, this, that. What does it mean? So my favorite app on my phone is dictionary.com.
Nice.
So I went to dictionary.com. I put in the word collaboration, and I actually love this definition. It's so simple. The action, emphasis on the word action, the action of working with someone to produce or create something.
That's very
Simple, elegant. I love the word action in it because it implies that collaboration is an act.
Mm-hmm.
It takes people doing something for collaboration to happen. And it can start small. It can start with, a business development or legal marketing team coming together for an all hands meeting, and the CMO or the CBDO puts two different team members together and asks them to work on putting an agenda together for the team meeting. It can start really small. It doesn't have to be like all of these people are coming together to collaborate. So in the context of the first topic, collaborative advantage with client retention, satisfaction, client teams are a really beautiful way, I think, to foster collaboration. And again, a place to start small. Having a client team leader or a relationship partner who helps bring others in to inform the relationship. It's also a beautiful way to get associates and counsel involved. to help drive the agenda. So anyway, going back, I'll repeat it one more time. Collaboration, the action of working with someone to produce or create something. So hopefully that kind of helps us set the stage. I promised Megan I wasn't going to say set the
Nice,
stage.
nice. Very sly. Man, we made it 15 minutes in. Good job, Jen. All right. Well, I love that. I love that definition, the act, and I love the idea of starting small. Megan, what say you? Right? Jen really sort of set the stage with this, with that definition. What do you think about the idea of client teams and sort of starting small and segmenting, and yeah, anything else that you want to add there?
Yeah, I think Jen and I usually finish each other's sentences, so most of the time I'm like, well, no, because we almost share the same brain. But I think, when we're talking about collaboration, I think there is this concept that it's like very big, and that it has to be this huge firm-wide program or this huge initiative or the different kinds of people coming together from just big. I just feel like it's like this, very giant. And I think that's the part that I really love. Well, one, I love the action because I think that's part of where Jen and I, and of course with Kathleen, are really strong. There's a lot of talk, and then there's people who do. And that's the part that I love. And I think it's when you're thinking about who do you like to collaborate with, like outside of work and also inside of work, there's a bunch of studies that's also saying that if you can make friends with people at work, if you have friends with people at work, you're more productive. And that's the whole point of what the advantage is, right? People want you to collaborate so you can get more stuff done, so you can make more money. That's kind of the basis. But there's also how are people feeling about when they're collaborating? And what does that look like? And who are the people that you're going to align yourself with? And where are those people? And just because you've been assigned sometimes to a client team doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's going to actually collaborate. And so that we can talk a little bit more about what that actually looks like. Because when Jen was talking about the big task or the big mandate or this kind of opportunity that we were given, we spent a lot of time before Jen and I on the BD side thinking about defining it. What does this look like? How are we bringing people together? Why are we bringing people together? What is the purpose? And I think that's part of it. Like everyone's running around saying collaborate, but like, why are you doing it? What is the outcome? What is the end result? Going back to Jen's definition, the dictionary's definition, what that you're trying to achieve. Is it just money? Or are you trying to have culture? Or are you trying to have client satisfaction? Like what is the purpose of the collaboration in that instance? And Jen and I spent a lot of time thinking about what that outcome was. What did we think the success would look like? And then getting other people to kind of weigh in and agree and collaborate. And who were the right mix of people as well. And then that was a long kind of conversation in these smaller little groups as well. So I'm not sure I necessarily addressed everything that you're saying, but that's kind of at the high level. There's a lot of pieces to, it's a simple word, but it means a lot of things to different people, which is why we wanted to define it, I think, to start, and maybe even defining it in each instance of whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. What I'm taking away from it is that there's you have to have good soil in order to plant and for the collaboration seed to sort of grow. One, there has to probably be trust between people. Maybe the right people even need to be matched together. Not everybody works together based on personality, based on type, based on history, skill set, et cetera, et cetera. And then maybe the last would be, what is the why? Does everybody have an absolute clear definition on what the why is? That makes a lot of sense. Do you want to talk a little bit more about how Jen, you want to say something? I wanted to ask a little bit more about the client team idea and maybe walk through kind of that. Maybe we could go through an exercise of defining a why for, let's say, a client team. Lots of people have client teams probably on the call. But Jen, what did you want to say before that?
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful segue, Ben, because I was going to go back to collaborative advantage and the client team idea. And so many times we we talk about collaboration within the four corners of the law firm, right? A lot of times the burden's put on the lawyers, and
Yes.
actually everybody has a role to play in collaboration. Again, it can, business developers and marketing, we can lead by example, collaborate amongst ourselves and have it emanate out to everyone. And then beyond that, a huge collaborative advantage, and client teams can help drive this, is collaborating with the client. Right?
Totally.
Sometimes it's like we're so wrapped up in how do we collaborate with each other that it's like, well, let's collaborate with the client and speak to the client. And it sounds so obvious. Sometimes it doesn't happen. And so a client team program, and I'm going to assume there's varying size of law firm marketing and BD professionals in the audience. I mean, it doesn't, you don't have to be the biggest firm in the world and have this huge client team program. You can pick a couple key clients that are near and dear to the firm's fabric and heart, and work on those. And the client teams really do. You think of it as horizontal and vertical. Practice sections are kind of these verticals where people practice in litigation or corporate security or just whatever. Client teams and industry teams sit across the horizon, and so they can see almost everything. It's a beautiful vantage point. And so with client teams, everyone coalesces around the client to try to best serve the client instead of hopefully serving themselves. And when the client is at the center of the conversation and collaboration happens, we've certainly done this. This is getting to, the anecdote, Ben. I mean, we've both led client teams for significant multinational companies where we involve the client in annual planning or semi-annual planning or whatever might be happening with the client team. The client is invited, the client is human. The client is not the company. So the human contacts at these clients come in and we work with them and we design with them and design around them in order to help them. So it's a huge advantage if firms really take advantage of that and do it. And it's really as easy as having strong leadership, having strong marketing and BD professionals too, who can encourage and kind of be right there with the lawyer, the relationship partner, to help them execute on this. And again, it sounds obvious, but it doesn't always happen. And so it can really be a huge leg up for law firm leaders and marketing and BD professionals who take it to heart and do it.
Yeah. I here at the One Firm webinar series, we're all about collaboration, and we drink our own Kool-Aid. And so I want to collaborate with the people in the chat really quickly, especially Kathleen, who I'm assuming that's Kathleen Hilton. Hi, Kathleen. And she had a really great comment here. It was around some of the important initial criteria for client teams and key account creation. And her point was you have to have buy-in from everybody that they're actually going to collaborate. And I'll read her comment. An important criteria for the client team: will the client collaborate with the law firm team? Will the client even know a team is in place? Without a client commitment, don't formalize a client team. Kathleen, that's a really good sort of segue into breaking down silos, but, we're sort of merging all of this together. But, I really appreciate the comment, Kathleen. And it's true, if you're thinking about client teams as a vessel for collaboration, to Jennifer's point, which is it's very horizontal in nature, and it's extra out of office as well as intra office, right? Because you're actually including the client as well in this. You also have to get buy-in. So I think that's one of the other things, right? That almost goes to breaking down silos or creating a culture, getting buy-in. But
Well, and Kathleen is masterful. I mean, this half of these ideas we get from her because she's run key account programs and client team programs, and that is, these are words that she emphasizes over and over again. Voice of the client, bringing the voice of the client into these types of conversations. And again, it all builds up to this collaborative advantage when everyone's talking amongst each other and working together. And so anyway, yeah, it's almost like she's here with us. I love it.
I feel it. We're having a mini seance here, and we're bringing in the spirit of Kathleen. We feel you. Clap twice if you can hear us, Kathleen. Gemini, LOL. Oh, I am a Gemini. Did you know that? I don't know if you knew that.
Oh,
That's interesting. Wow, from beyond.
Yes, we know that.
Oh, we do. Okay, great. Oh, that's right. For sake of time, you want to go into collaborative culture. There's so much more that could be said for collaborative advantage, but I think sometimes people are already bought in on the idea, right? Which is, at the end of the day, your client. Well, let me just ask you this before we leave collaborative advantage. You know, you guys have you've been in house. Now you're running outhouse and and out of house and. And working with clients, you know, how much do clients want firms to collaborate? I mean, maybe this is a stupid question, but you know, from that perspective, if you're in the client's shoes, you are a multinational. You know, what's the end user experience, to use my software language? You know, what's the end user experience whenever a client sees a firm collaborating with them? What do they receive? Because sometimes I don't think it's obvious to let's say lawyer A or marketing manager B sitting sort of within something. What does it feel like to be on the other side, out of house, if you will?
I feel like that's two parts. I think the first part, or I'm interpreting that as kind of a two-part question. The first piece is, do clients want to collaborate? And I'm assuming that, and I think that's a valid question. And that's where you get into, like, did you ask them? You know, what is their preferred communication style? What is their preferred collaboration style? What is their preferred work style? And once you bought into the fact that you want to collaborate and you want to have the client in mind, I think that's the next step to building it, and is understanding with empathy, who are the people, who am I trying to support, who am I trying to help. And I mean, one of the things that Kathleen and I are both SMART collaboration certified, and that's part of where, and when Jen and I were building the industry team, we looked at a lot of Heidi Gardner, who created this program, research to figure out, like, well, why do clients want to collaborate? How is this actually going to help? And people want to make money, and so what is the result other than, like, it feels good? And that's part of, is really understanding where the barriers are coming in, what people's styles are. And so if the client is like, I love offsites, I'm just making this up, right? I love offsites. Then if you know that, then that is one way to collaborate in person. I mean, I think there was a very famous, there was the LMA panel where the Gibson GC was like, don't call me, don't send me stuff. I don't want to hear from you, right? And that might be interpreted as not collaborative, perhaps, but now you're also adhering to their work style and what it is that they need. If you were trying to jam them into an offsite, then that's not collaborating, right? That is you thinking about yourself as a firm, as a client, as a lawyer. And so I think that's part of where you get into these, how to create. And in a collaborative environment is really about understanding, listening, active listening, thinking about, what does that person need instead of what do I want? What do I want to get out of it? And that's how you can take that next step towards knowing what people's styles are and navigating around whatever those challenges might be. That's the first part. I think the second part was on that. Now that we're on the other side, right?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. I probably worded it incorrectly. You know, I was, Jennifer, let me ask you, you know, is there, maybe going back and asking you, you know, what does it feel like sometimes for the client whenever a firm is collaborating? Does that mean that there's better communication? Does that mean that the client gets access to more resources? Does it mean that well, we all know from Heidi's research that means that the client tends to spend more with you, right? But that's by virtue of that they want to spend more with you, right? That's kind of like revenue is an end goal or an end product of of something happening with the client. Could you give a little bit more, maybe like color in terms of fleshing it out? What does the client end up getting for a firm that's very, very collaborative? Does that question make sense?
It totally makes sense. And it is a great question. And, you know, I have not been a client of a law firm, right? So it's almost a little challenging for me. You know, it's a great question to ask clients.
Right.
Do you view your law firm as collaborative? What does collaboration look like to you? Do you care about it?
Right.
If I had to take a wild, I was almost going to say a bad word, a wild arse guess, I would say, you know, I'd use adjectives like seamless
Right.
and
Yep.
superior service and listening. You know, I have people who actually listen to what I am bringing to them, and they try to help me and solve it for me, whatever that might look like behind the scenes, right? I mean, is it, you know, if I'm a client and I'm in the height of a crisis, you know, I might not totally care if, is everyone collaborating? But you certainly hope they are. They're talking to feed me the best information at the best time to make the best decision. So I think I'm sure there's some better way to say all of this, but you know, I think it's timing, getting what the client needs at the right time from the right people that addresses the pain points and that it's seamless. And I don't have to go ask a million different people for something. It is just right there. It's organized. The information's organized. I think that is, there's transparency.
Right.
There's no hiding
Right.
the ball.
Right.
I think we've all been in situations before where we are on the receiving end of some type of product or service. And, you know, you can tell if it's disjointed, which is probably an indicator that there's not a lot of collaboration or organization going on behind the scenes. And then I'm sure we've all been recipients of products and services where it's like, God, that was such an amazing experience. So maybe that's how I would sum it up, you know, for a client to experience true collaboration. Hopefully they walk away saying, I just had an amazing experience with, you know, law firm ABC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think it's sometimes often you just know it when you see it, right? We talk about client retention, but there's obviously a tremendous amount of lateral movement happening right now for the lawyers, but also for BDers. And we've definitely all worked at firms where there's no transition plan in place, right? And then, you know, now you have a panel appointment that you have to try and find a NetDoc link to access, or there was no succession plan in place and that person retires. And so there's this kind of scramble. And I think that's part of where collaboration is kind of on the administrative side, right? If you're putting in all of those things in place, then the client isn't seeing any gap in service, whether it's from the BD person or from the lawyer. It's very seamless, and it's kind of this one-stop shop, right? I always think about, this is not a legal story, but I stayed at a very fancy hotel one time, and it's about client service, right? And I was the client in this instance, and we drove up. I had just gotten a new job. I drove up in my shitty car, and sorry, I cursed. So we drove up and give it at the valet, and they were like, "Oh, you know, what's your name?" And we're like, "Oh, we're, you know, Megan and my husband. We're Megan Senese." And they said, "Okay, right this way, Miss Senese." And when we got to the front desk, they said, "Welcome to the hotel, Miss Senese." And I had forgotten from the time I had walked from the front door to the front desk that I had given them my name, and was completely like surprised and felt like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they know who I am. And I think about what that felt like. It was literally from one, I mean, they all had headphones, whatever. It was from one step from the valet to the front desk. And I think about that was like an end user experience, or the client journey, or the client experience. And I think about that a lot. And what are tiny ways that you can make it feel very seamless? And I was completely shocked. My husband was like, they literally just asked you this. He was not impressed. I was, right? But that also goes to show you, like, that was important to me, not important to him. And so that's,
Right.
if the hotel had asked me, is it important that we know your name? I don't know if I would have answered yes, but I will now going forward. And so I think that's one of those things where, like, you know it when you see it or you feel it. And it was just this tiny little touch that I feel like that's where you're trying to put that with the client. It doesn't need to be like what we were saying at the beginning. It doesn't need to be huge, although it can be, right? We've definitely, Kathleen and I have done some giant client offsites where people were in person, people were streaming in. The client told Kathleen, I want to hear from as many people at your firm as possible, but it has to relate to my needs.
Right.
And there was multiple things we tried to get done with that offsite. But it can be big, it can be small, it can be micro habits, and it doesn't need to be just the lawyers. They have plenty of burden. We as BD professionals can implement that as well.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's a beautiful capstone on the advantages of collaboration. And Megan, that was an incredible story. It really was. It also, what I also took back is the output of collaboration. You've already sort of said this, but I'll just say it. The output of collaboration can be very small things that are incredibly meaningful, and human beings are very, very good at knowing meaningful actions, right? We pick up on things that are very meaningful, and it's usually as a direct function of the following. You heard me, you listened to me, and you even surprised me a little bit, right?
Right.
That's everybody loves a surprise gift that was unexpected. That was a function of listening, right? That's one of the most thoughtful things you can give your partner, probably in this world, as I'm told very often. So, so that's
were you looking around to make sure?
Yeah, right, exactly. I wanted to make sure she was in earshot. So so let her know I'm listening.
Yes.
Let's go to collaborative culture now. And I want to go into this from the perspective of I'm sure you guys will close the loop for us and give us some anecdotes within establishing a collaborative culture within law firms. But I want to take this first from the perspective, and Kathleen, please jump in, setting up stage, and really what was some of the things you all did to sort of establish a collaborative culture in the context of a new venture?
Yes. Well, we had the beautiful benefit of we three worked together previous, and for a significant amount of time. Kathleen and I have worked together for almost 19 years, and then Megan the last 6 or 7. So we were a trio, and we were very Pollyanna about the magic that we brought to things and to each other, and what we could bring if we went out and did it on our own. And so we have very wide-ranging skill sets and strengths, and they are a lovely complement to one another. And so I think that, I think you asked at the beginning, Ben, like words that you think of when you think of collaboration is like teamwork. We're a team, and that just has continued to carry through. I mean, is it all like kittens and unicorns and roses all the time? No, but there's a lot more good times than the bad times, and it's stuff that we work through, because there's a deep amount of, you said it earlier again, Ben, there's a great deal of respect and trust and love, I'll say. And so those, I think, are some serious pillars, for collaboration and for creating a culture of collaboration. So that's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking us that.
I add on to that. I mean, I think those are part of why we chose this new path. I think part for us was you hear this like very cliche, like make sure you're not running away from something, that you're running to something. And we were definitely running to stage. And I think for us, because we are marketing people at heart, we were like, let's think about our brand first and what's going to look like that's fun. and and it was actually a really kind of a lot deeper conversation about what do the colors mean to us? What do we want people to think of when they, when they think of stage, when they are looking at our website? What are the core values that the three of us think of and want to give to our lawyers and who are now our clients, and our marketing friends who are our clients? Like, what do we want to give to them? And that was this very collaborative conversation, because you have to think there's three people. We're in three different states, and coming together on what tone do we want to use? How informal do we want to be? How formal do we want to be? Are we only helping lawyers? And so there was a lot of this. What is the purpose of our company? What do we want to get out of it? And it all kind of ties back to our entire years of experience in building something new, right? Like, we were creating our own little client team, and it starts internal, and then who are we? What are we doing? What do we want to do? Who do we want to help? And then that turns external, and who are we going to talk to? Like, who else are we going to engage with? And I think that was this kind of branding exercise, which seems kind of like fluffy kind of at the beginning, was way more substantive and deep diving, and really figuring out who our target audience was and how we were going to help, and what gap we as Stage want to serve and fill, is really what started the kind of this conversation after. And I don't think we would have these really deep conversations if there wasn't the pillars of trust and transparency and years of working together, and Jen and I finishing each other's sentences. I mean, when we were in-house, we would get assignments, from a client team or an industry meeting, and we wouldn't even necessarily need to talk that much. Like, Jen knew what she was going to do, and I knew which actions I was going to do, because we knew each other's work styles and our strengths, and it was so seamless. And it just that part kind of carries over into our new lives.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question, and shout out to Kathleen for answering some questions in the chat. I want to ask the role of hierarchy, and specifically dividing out tasks, and basically how much top down task and prioritization and assignment needs to be done in order to engender a collaborative culture. And I ask this because I think a lot of people believe that collaboration is sort of everybody gets into a room with some sticky notes, and everybody's putting their opinions, and what comes out and what emerges is some better idea, effectively. But that bottom-up emergence sometimes needs to be complemented with like a top-down vision. And so I want to ask you guys, within the context of either Stage or even within the context of law firms, to what extent is hierarchy, staying in your lanes, fulfilling your roles and duties? At what point is that really sort of, how important is that to complement with this kind of like bottom up, everybody's ideas, et cetera, et cetera? I think you get the gist of the question here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I would go back to, in the context of law firms, industry, working with industry group leaders, industry team leaders, again, using the word leader, I do think there is a hierarchy, to your point, in terms of having strong leaders in place who can have a vision and set shared goals. I think those are, again, part of what makes collaboration work, common motivators, commonalities, shared goals. And when we work with industry group leaders, industry team leaders, they are so critical to the success of teams working and driving collaboration. And again, they see things from their vantage point of being in a leadership position, sitting horizontally across a firm where they can, they're looking at clients from more of an industry lens or industry perspective, and then able to bring in lawyers and resources from the various practices that are responsive to that client's needs and the client's, where the client sits in the industry and what they need. So I agree there has to be some kind of level of someone, not like ruling with an iron fist by any means, but, someone, a visionary or someone who has the greater good at heart and is able to focus on the client and who truly enjoys working with people and bringing them together. And we functioned like that. We had strong industry group leaders who they cared about the firm, they cared about people, they cared about the clients, and through that, we were able to bring people together and be quite successful at rolling out industry team programs that brought like people who normally might not work together or talk to each other, bringing them together. So strong leadership is a huge key to this.
Yeah.
Megan, before you answer, can I ask just one follow-up very quickly to Jen? And I want to be mindful of time here. And again, please put your questions in the chat if you have anything, any comments. Also, this is collaborative. We're talking about collaboration, and we're all working together to sort of solve this big issue. Jennifer, I just wanted to ask, could you lay out kind of, let's say in the context of industry teams, could you just lay out sort of what was the team structure? If you could, just who reported to who? Obviously, everybody reported back to the client, but if we're thinking about actual structures around there, because you've talked about client teams, you might have maybe the client teams, there might be other teams that you work with that all rolled up to like an industry group. But how did that sort of all work, and who reported to who, and what were the teams involved? And that was kind of the question.
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because it's very near and dear to all of our hearts. We spent a lot of time on it, and having an industry team and leadership, it's imperative that overall firm leadership elevates the industry team leaders to the same level as practice section leaders or practice group leaders, whatever they might be called in a larger law firm. And that's when collaboration starts to happen, is when these two groups of people start to interact with each other. And so the industry team leadership was on the same level. It was elevated to practice section leaders. And everyone reported up to firm management. So there was usually one team leader per industry group. Co-leadership, it can be challenging because it's, who's responsible for what and who has, what say or whatever. So there was one leader, and then we would have deputy industry team leaders. Sometimes someone who maybe generationally was not quite as senior to the leader in their career, but who was up and coming, star material, and someone who worked really well with the team leader. And then Megan and I supported all of the industry team leaders and deputy team leaders from a marketing and business development point of view. We were very lucky in that was our role. We were no longer working in the practice section verticals. We were with the industry groups, but this is what we were talking about. You start small. We collaborated with our practice section marketing friends. So there's collaboration happening at all levels. And so it took some time to get it going because it was nascent. The beginning, I think a lot of firms say, oh yeah, we have industry teams, and they put it on the website, and that's great. But where we were, the rubber really did meet the road, and great emphasis was put into industry teams. They had their own budgets. Right. They had their own dedicated marketing BD professionals. And we had the resources to bring people together. We had collaborative resources to bring people together, like firm-wide newsletters and things like that. So people knew what was going on. And, at the end of our tenure, I think I speak for Kathleen and Megan. I mean, we were very proud of the work that we did. And the client teams fit in that, the key accounts fit in that, because when you are focused on particular industries where a firm has strengths and the largest concentration of their client base is, that's where you can start to identify those key accounts or client teams that you really want to support, because you already are familiar with their industry. So, why not give more support there? So thank you. I could go on. Okay, I could go on and on. I'm very passionate about this because like I said, we spend a lot of time and we're very proud of our work there.
This sounds like a great next webinar, or even a good stage offer. I don't know, but it sounds pretty good. Organizing good organizational hierarchies and good structures that sort of engender collaboration. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Megan, anything to add on to this before we go last? We bring this home with breaking down silos. We'll end with all we'll go to breaking down
let's
silos.
Let's just go to the next one. Yeah.
All right. So why don't we end with, everything's not all rosy. There are personalities. Everybody knows that there are very strong personalities within law firms. This has been sort of documented by science. I did a podcast with Dr. Larry Richard, and it's statistically significant that lawyers actually have some of the lowest scores of the general population whenever it comes to, they score very high on autonomy and very low in resilience. And you need to have the opposite to really be great collaborations, right? Collaborators in that capacity. So, there is a lot of silos. There's history even. There's there's conservatism sort of baked into the industry per se. There's precedent. There's law firms are large. There's the partnership structure. There's the incentive structure. I mean, we could go on and on. There's a lot that sort of pushes back against this. Do you guys want to talk about maybe opportunities where you've seen wedge issues that maybe could be dislodged, or what's the thing about breaking down some silos? Is it trust? Is it getting to meet the people outside of day to day? Sometimes that's like a big thing that you can get, right? People don't know each other outside of their day to day work, and so if they don't know each other, they can't trust each other. They can't trust each other. You can't have friendship. If you can't have friendship, or at least business friendship, you can't really sort of collaborate, despite great organizational design and good hierarchy structured. So, Megan, why don't you? That was a huge question.
Give it.
Bring it all in. That's the whole buffet right there.
Yes, and I think so much of what we spent a lot of time is talking about the kind of the pre, right? The pre-organization, pre-meeting, pre-assembling the team, and in every firm that I have worked at, who you brought together. I think part of the reason why, for the most part, my experience with the leaders that have been assigned to a client team or an industry program are good leaders in that they know that there are strengths and weaknesses to the people that they are assembling. And if you know that this person is not a collaborative person or prefers the kind of lone wolf style, sometimes those people are just kind of left to continue in the way that makes them happy, right? And bringing in the people who have already bought into the fact that they want to collaborate. And I feel like that is the piece that really once you identify who those people are, instead of forcing the one person who is, bringing in a lot of money for the firm, but like, you need to collaborate, you need to come in and part of the conversation, and is kind of bringing the vibe of everybody else down, there might be someone else who can rise up to the occasion. And that's where the leader is helpful. If you know what the people's strengths and weaknesses are, if you have someone who's an introvert with an extrovert, right, you can get into all those personality tests or strength finder or smart collaboration assessments. You can do all of those, but then use them, right? Use them so that you can figure out what is the best composition for getting whatever it is done that you need to get done, whether that's serving the client or writing a proposal together, or hiring a business development coordinator who's going to support you as a BD manager. That's one way to kind of overcome that. If you know about that person and understand that person, then that will translate across the entire firm. I mean, I think part of it is people aren't incentivized to kind of reach out and talk to each other. And there's a partner who was a lateral and knew that he was getting kind of siloed and wanted to meet other lawyers inside the firm. And I think that's where Jen and I came in a lot. But I collaborated with another BDer and we launched a podcast, and it was him interviewing other partners.
Nice.
But it was for external,
Right.
conversations, of course. And he met so many more partners through this podcast as they came in and talked about themselves and their practice. And he then knew about them, and they were able to refer each other work and introduce each other. And they felt that there was a sense of teamwork, and it was everything in it for them and kind of nothing, on the surface in it for him. And
Sure.
they wanted to give back. And I just think about that kind of instance and how you can replicate that across other groups, and, thinking about what that person needs, and what does the client need, and what does that lawyer need, what does your BD colleague need, as kind of the starting point, the small starting point to knowing what challenges you need to overcome.
Yeah. Jennifer, so what I took away really quickly is, one of the big issues that sometimes you can dislodge that break down silos is having people get to know one another, and engineering that and mapping people in the right in the right scenarios, and that can come a lot from a good strong team leader who can put the right people in the right room. Jennifer, anything to add to this? Anything you can piggyback on and finish Megan's sentence, or take a whole other? What's a big wedge issue that gets in the way of collaboration? What's a big causing silos? Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you named some of the obstacles and wedges. I'd say that lateral partners are an amazing segment of law firms who can help break down organizational barriers and silos. We have seen such an incredible amount of success when new lawyers, new partners come into a firm. They usually have the rose-colored glasses on. They are looking to learn as much as they can about the firm. They want to introduce their clients. They and again, not to beat the dead horse, but industry teams provide a really elegant way. We would bring lateral partners in right away and start to look at, their clients and how we can introduce, clients to certain parts of the firm and vice versa. And so I would say, sometimes just start small, start with one person. Sometimes it just comes down to one. And lateral partners are a great group of people, a great cohort to, as soon as they come into the firm, start to, get to know them, and they can be some of the best people in the firm to help start to break down those silos and barriers. So,
yeah. Well, we're coming to the end. It was an absolute pleasure to collaborate with the three of you. I really felt like Kathleen was here alongside of us. I learned so much from you guys every single time I talk to you. That's the honest truth. Today we covered so much. We really talked about the idea of strong organizational structure. That's kind of like making sure that you have the containers sort of available. We talked about the psychological safety, I would even say, or the psychological mapping to allow for collaboration to even have. Aligned whys. Does everybody literally understand why we're doing this, and is everybody bought in? That's sort of another. And then the last is, you talked about getting outside of the four walls of the firm and making sure that you're bringing in everybody that you need to sort of kind of deliver that why, and then being realistic, I think, with sort of the challenges that you have, and trying to not boil the ocean, but maybe start small. And I don't know, it's as I was coming in and I was thinking, like, what am I going to say to tie all of this together? It's like it comes back to, at the end of the day, it does come back to the client, and it does come back to client satisfaction and client success. And it's almost like you're doing all of this to let the client know that, of course, table stakes, you can deliver good client work, but even more so that you sort of leave the client in a place where they are, they feel heard, they feel helped, and they feel like everything that happens to them is really valuable. And I don't think that one person can ever do that, right? It takes an entire tribe to sort of deliver that experience. So that's everything that I learned from you guys. Thank you so much for sitting down. Anything you guys want to plug, anything you want to bring in? I just want to say thank you so much to both of you, of course, for contributing to the Nexl Law Firm Growth White Paper. If you haven't seen that, all three, I believe, contributed to that, and they had a great section about collaboration. So go download that at nexl.cloud. But yeah, what's up with you all for the next couple of months till the end of the year?
Collaborating.
Such an easy answer. I love it.
We're just going to collaborate until the cows come home.
Yeah.
Slam dunk. And doing it across state lines and doing it in different time zones, it's great. I think it's fantastic. Well, that's it. I think we're going to close the session here. Close the little session here. We're going to hit the gong bell. This is a very subtle reference to Jennifer and her yoga practice. So we're gonna close it up. Bing, let's come back in. Namaste, everybody, and namaste, and I hope everybody has a really, really great day. And we will be back soon. Thanks, Jacob. We'll be back very, very soon with another One Firm webinar. Emma in the chat will let everybody know. So please watch LinkedIn, follow us on LinkedIn, and you will be sure to get all of the next webinar schedules, or check out our events calendar, which should be on our website. You'll be able to take a look. Okay, thank you both. The ladies, the stage. It was